Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to have a book recommendation video for road trip books. So if you've been watching my channel over the last several months, you will see that I've been reading a lot of road trip books. So I'm really excited to dive into this recommendation video. I have compiled a list of several different types of road trip books or trips that make long journeys, we'll say. So I thought that this would be really fun to just kick off a series on my channel of book recommendations based on different themes. The next one I might do will be something like adventurous exploration type books. We'll see more international travel type books, but for this, we're just sticking with road trips and more traditional road trips in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, there are some wintry Christmas books on this list just because there are some really fun Christmas road trip books that I wanted to include. First one I want to mention is Better Watch Out by Natalie Walters. This is a cute romantic suspense Christmas holiday romance that captured my heart last year, and I adored it. In this book, we follow a former NHL defenseman turned protection agent named Andrew, and then we have our main girl of Franny Frost. I love her name. Franny is in New York, so she has traveled. I want to include this because she did travel to New York to surprise her boyfriend, but things don't work out as planned when her boyfriend was with somebody else, and so they break up, okay? So she's left there in the big city feeling alone and just all by herself in the middle of New York, but she's determined to make this the best trip ever, right? So she has these bucket list Christmas activities, and I thought this would be really fun to include because of the bucket list aspect more than anything. She's there planning on doing all these things by herself, but again, she's in a big city, so her brother is really worried about her, and so her brother has Andrew, who is his best friend, try to deliver her to the airport. Since her brother saved his life last year, he feels like he can't tell him no, so he goes there. Things get a little bit crazy when the woman that Andrew is supposed to be protecting gets mistaken for Franny. And so there's a little bit of mistaken identity, some suspense element added in, but and a few fun bucket list items make for a really fun Christmas adventure. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. As someone who loves Christmas, I love this book. So if you are a big Christmas fanatic, enthusiast, whatever you want to say, this is one to pick up this Christmas, okay? City, the travel aspect, it's very cute, and it has like this layer of charm in the city. I'm not really a big city person, and it made me really adore New York City at Christmas. So it had like all the good things and a really sweet romance. The next book recommendation I want to mention is The Summer of Yes by Courtney Walsh. I know, I've talked a lot about this on my channel this month, but just throwing it in here because it did include a road trip and it was very good. I gave it 4.5 stars, rated up to 5. This is a story that's all about what really matters most in life and saying yes or no to the right things. I really needed this book at such a time in my life, like I said in my reading vlog for this. If you haven't seen that, I'm gonna link that down below. But this story just made you realize how short life really is and how things could change in the blink of an eye. And let's not take life for granted. Let's go on that vacation. Use your PTO, honey. Prepare the others. Okay, go on that road trip. Let's go. Enjoy life with your family. And I just really enjoyed the story that Courtney portrayed in this. This is a clean women's contemporary fiction story. Had a little bit of a romance in it as well. I was mostly invested in the friendship between Kelsey and Georgina. In the story, Kelsey and Georgina end up meeting in a hospital room of all places. Georgina is dying from kidney failure unless she gets a transplant. She's one of the most successful women in New York City. She has lived the last 20 plus years away from her family and focused solely on her career, and she has a lot of regrets in life. In comes Kelsey, who ends up in the same hospital room as Georgina because she was hit by a car. And so she is there. She's had this near-death experience, and she is also a lot like Georgina, but she's in her 30s, and she's really seeing this front and center that she is wasting her life, and she wants to make this a summer of yes. So she makes this a summer of yes with Georgina, and she works to try to help her reconnect with her family and a lot of other things. It's a really great story. Highly recommend. They go on this little road trip that she has some plans, sleeve. That's all I'll say. So, highly recommend. The book that I recently read that I don't own physically, but I read it for review that came out this last month was The Fast Lane by Sharon Peterson. This was super cute. It was a clean rom-com, friends to lovers trope. Definitely has that fun road trip, brother's best friend. There's some epilepsy representation and many laugh out loud moments. So Allie and her family are on this road trip for her brother's wedding, and so ends up riding with Theo, who she's been crazy about since she was a teenager. Theo is her brother's best friend, and all these feelings from a long time ago come up, okay? And it was a very funny, hilarious road trip, okay? We see all these different things that they stop along the way. So this is like a true road trip story because you get to see them stopping and driving and all these different things and what happens to them along the way. And I love that. So I really liked Allie. She was a very good and strong character, relatable, real, and we just see her work through her struggles and with her epilepsy over her life. And Theo and her have this really great chemistry. I love that he is her comfort person. It was just super cute. There's a lot of good side characters, grandparent side characters that made me laugh. So yeah, overall this is really great. It had some deeper topics, but it was still a cute, clean rom-com that made you laugh and it had a good level of depth. The only complaint with this is it had some language, but they were the milder, smaller words. So it wasn't too bad, but just want to mention that for those that want to know about language. But overall, I gave this like 4 to 4.5 stars. It was really a good road trip story. The next book I want to mention is Are We There Yet by Savannah Scott. I did read this recently as well, and it is a coming of age story. It has very slow burn romance, friends to more, best friend's older brother, road trip story. All the tropes, okay? There's no third act breakup in this, so if that's very important to you, and it's not in here, so that's great. A really great friendship group. This is the start of the Love Trippin' series. There are 4 books out currently in this series, and I've read all 4. The friendship group you follow throughout the entire series, so that's a lot of fun. But in this one, we're primarily seeing the road trip. And so this is a sweet and clean rom-com as well. And we have 4 friends in their early 20s who are traveling in a vintage Volkswagen van across the country on Route 66 from their small town in Bordeaux, Ohio to Marbella Island in California. This is the perfect best friends road trip story with that rom-com element that I just really needed. It was funny. Riley is the main girl in this, and she has always had a thing for her best friend's older brother, Cameron, and she's kept it a secret for a really long time. She has like a little diary where she's making notes and stuff along the way. Feelings start to come to the forefront on this trip, and it was super cute. So, highly recommend this. It's a perfect blend of romance and comedy that I needed. Another great Route 66 road trip is The Road Before Us by Janine Rosche. I really enjoyed this. This was a recent release. I read it for review and I gave it 4 stars. It's a contemporary fiction story. From the very beginning, you're very invested in the characters, their backstories, and the journey that they're making on this trip. The story starts with this girl, Jade, and she's in court with her fiance after she realizes that he pretty much scammed their financial clients out of all their money in a big Ponzi scheme. And so one of the clients that he scammed out of money was a huge previous Hollywood star back in the day in the 1960s, and her name was Bernice Benny Aldridge. And so Benny's adult foster son Bridger is filming this documentary retracing Benny's 1956 road trip that started the love story between Benny and her recently deceased husband Paul. So we have Jade, Benny, and Bridger's road trip in modern day. Then we have some flashbacks of Jade's life when she was kidnapped by her father in 2003, her non-custodial father. Benny's past with her husband Paul in 1956. So Jade is reliving this trauma she experienced when she was kidnapped by him in 2003 in those flashbacks, traveling through Route 66 when she was 8 years old. Benny is experiencing also signs of dementia in current modern day as she's trying to recount her previous life with Paul from 1956. And here as we see a lot of growth, forgiveness, and their history together as the trip progresses, okay? So to me, if you like a good women's contemporary fiction story, road trips, Hollywood stories, in-depth characters that have went through a lot, pick this one up. I feel like they had this journey together, and where they came out in the end was really just a beautiful place. But this book does tackle some heavier topics such as parental kidnapping, like I said, dementia, treatment of POWs, and racism, sexual harassment, all these different things. But she handled it in a very good way, I feel like, and so really enjoyed this. My heart just broke for the characters for what they were going through, but their journey was beautiful. And I will say the only reason this wasn't a 5-star is because the faith content, I mean, it had some small moments of faith, but there were some things I wasn't a fan of in it. But overall, I still really enjoyed the story itself. And the road trip elements were really nice because this is another story where it's like you see the traveling along the way. So, yeah. Next book I want to talk about is The Rose We Follow by Nicole Deese. This is book 2 in the Fog Harbor romance series, but this is one that can be completely read as a standalone. None of the characters in book 1 are mentioned in this one, so this is one you could read just by itself and be totally fine. But Nicole Deese told this very powerful story of love and loss and dreams and family in this road trip novel filled with faith, forgiveness, and a really good layer of depth in these characters that you're going to love. I just love these characters. The ending was my favorite. I was teary-eyed in this reconciliation and family. So overall, it was really great. In this book, we have Reagan and Micah, and we see how their worlds start to collide in the roads they follow, okay, and the answers they find together, right? So Reagan is this youngest daughter of a country music legend named Luella, and Reagan's biggest dream is to publish her small town romance under a pen name. She doesn't really want to have this book out there just because of who she is. She wants it to be on her own. So she has a pen name. And so that dream gets shut down, unfortunately. She hears a rumor about this tell-all that's being written about their family and all their history and secrets and things. And she's not really sure what to do about it. If she should tell her mother and sisters or if she just keep it to herself, she doesn't know. Cut to Micah, who comes in, and he's the son of Lynn, who is Luella's old music partner and friend. She passed away, and Micah has just come to the realization in the very beginning of the story that his father is not the man he thought he was. And so he came in contact with Reagan's mother, and she needs a driver for this 2-week road trip across the country with her family. So Micah takes that opportunity, and he wants to seek answers from this big box of old journals that she has from his mother so that he can possibly figure out everything about his real father and go on from there. So together they embark on this road trip together across the country, and he finds more than he expects with this relationship with Reagan, and I love their relationship. The romance was perfect in this for me. I really liked how we have both of their perspectives in this dual point of view. I don't think I would have loved it if I didn't have both of their point of views, so it was really great because you got to see what they were truly going through, what they were feeling, all of that stuff. He was so supportive for her, and he just cared so much for her, and I really liked that. He was encouraging her to follow where God was leading her, and I really liked that. I think that if you really like a good road trip story, cute romance, country music star type stuff, and journal entries and all this stuff, family reconciliation about the past, all of that, pick this one up. Now, I know this is not necessarily like a road trip, but it did have like this bicycling journey that was like 500 miles. So why not? We're going to mention it, okay? Love in Tandem by Becca Kinzer. I really enjoyed the story, gave it 4 stars. It was a recent release of hers, and I laughed a lot with this. I think it was very lighthearted. Had a story we follow Charlotte, who's a music teacher, and she realizes that the grant funding for the school's music program is getting cut. And so she's concerned about how they're going to continue the program. Then we see Charlotte in this hilarious meet cute in this funny situation with this guy, Zach Bryant, who is his brother's ex-fiance. So Charlotte was dating Zach's brother in the past and was engaged. So I wasn't really sure about that, but somehow Becca made it work. Ended up having to fake date in this situation because when she meets up with them, everybody thinks that they're dating. So they're fake dating, and they're thrown in this situation where they have to be together in a 500-mile tandem bicycle contest for some big prize money. And then you have this really great story that's filled with a lot of laughs. So yeah, this had some nice faith moments. I did want more about with like the romance personally. I felt like it was more comedy than romance, but I still really enjoyed the story, and I really liked reading about the author's note in here where Becca actually had like a real life experience with her own husband in a 500-mile tandem bicycle trip with her husband. So I thought that was really fun to see, and how she kind of turned that into this own story. So highly recommend this one for a cute romance. Moving back into Christmas books, we've got The Christmas Joyride by Melody Carlson. Now, Melody Carlson's kind of hit or miss, but I ended up giving this, I think, 4 stars. It was really cute. I love a good story with a grandmother figure, and Joy, one of the main characters in this, is 85 years old. She did not disappoint. She has this RV that's decked out, of course, obviously from the cover, like decked out with all these Christmas decorations. And so they are planning to drive from Chicago to her new retirement home in Phoenix. And so Miranda is her neighbor, and so she ends up taking the trip with Joy just so she can kind of be there because she's in fear of what she's going to find out on the road. Doesn't want her to be by herself at her age. And so this trip becomes a very fun and interesting trip because she starts to realize how much she can help people at Christmas time with her. While I like the road trip aspect of this, I didn't really care so much for the romance in the end. I could have done without. It was a little insta love, but I do love a good single dad finding love again trope, and that was in here, so that was okay. It's one of those Christmas cheesy books, but I still really enjoyed it because friendship with Joy and Miranda was just really nice, how it was well formed together, and you could just just truly see their friendship, no matter what their age was. Like, they were still really great friends. Joy was filled also with some really great wisdom. That was just a delight to read during Christmas time. So yeah, I highly recommend this. It's great to read at Christmas time. Just add it to your list for this Christmas. You won't regret it. The last book I want to mention is A Cross Country Christmas by Courtney Walsh. I would love to reread this, y'all. It's been a while. It's like maybe 3 years now since I've read this, but I love this story. I might have to look at the synopsis because it's been a while, like I said, since I've read it. But Lauren Richmond and what's the guy's name? Will Sinclair. Okay. Childhood crush. Okay. That's in here. We see they are having to take this road trip to the Midwest for the holidays, and she is not having it. I remember she was just like, not here, but she has to get there because Lauren's brother and wife are expecting a baby, so her brother arranges her to go home with Will. And along the way, Will and her have this really great connection that grows. At first, not so much. They're kind of enemies to lovers, right? But under the circumstances, you know, she has this misconception about him, I'll say. He's very flirty and spontaneous, and she has a bad impression of him. She's convinced that he didn't change, and she starts to see just how much he really has changed over the years. So I really enjoyed it. I kind of want to reread it. Will I reread it at Christmas time? Maybe. But it's a really great road trip, and this is another one where you actually see the road trip along the way. So that's my road trip recommendation list. Okay, let me know some good road trip stories that you've read. I would love to hear them. I had a hard time kind of finding other ones, so I was like, look, I gotta go ahead and make this video because I've got plenty on the list to talk about to make a full video on it. So again, let's chat below in the comments. Do any of these sound interesting? Have you read them? All the good things. I'm looking forward to making more in this series. Let me know if you have any themes or specific ideas for book recs you'd like to see. I already kind of got several in my head. I know, like, books that have a theme of music, I'm gonna do that. Adventurous explorations like international travel, and I've got a few others like the celebrity type, Hollywood influencer type books. I know there's a lot of those. Some people are not really so like keen on those, but there's plenty to mention in a recommendation video, right? So those are just some of my ideas, but let me know if you have others that you would like for me to put together, and I'll definitely try to work on that and add that to my list. I've done several genre recommendation videos. I will leave the playlist down below. I've got Christian fantasy, cozy mysteries, several contemporary romance and clean romance recommendation videos, biblical fiction. I'll just leave the playlist down below of my recommendations for you to check that out if you've missed any of those. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye, y'all.